Hello, I'm Sian Moxon. I'm here with my colleague Dr. Justin Webb. We're both from London Metropolitan University, and we're going to talk about Wild Ways, a scoping review of literature on understanding and influencing rewilding behaviour in urban residential gardens. Urban rewilding is vital to help address alarming biodiversity loss resulting from rural land management practices, and to give city residents healthy contact with nature. In the UK, 41% of species are in strong to moderate decline, and 15% are extinct or threatened with extinction, with rural land management being a major factor. Urban areas can support high biodiversity levels. 68% of the world's population will live in an urban area by 2050. And residents of more biodiverse urban areas have better well-being. So we're defining urban rewilding as making places wilder again by bringing back greater diversity of life. Domestic gardens can offer an important resource for urban wildlife and people, but their habitat and amenity value have declined through residents removing greenery. Gardens cover a quarter of many cities, including London, but the city has suffered a 12% loss of vegetated garden cover over a 10-year period. Designers and planners must engage residents in rewilding their gardens by understanding how to influence their behaviour. The Rewild My Street campaign, shown here, aims to do this in London, using vision drawings of a typical residential street adapted for wildlife to inspire residents and organise guidance. Rewild My Street inspired the Wild Ways study, a cross-disciplinary project applying behavioural science methodologies to design research, which aims to investigate pro-environmental behaviours in relation to improving the biodiversity of private gardens in London, in the UK. Here, we present new findings from the study's first phase, a scoping review of the existing literature on understanding and influencing rewilding behaviour in urban residential gardens. The scoping review maps the body of literature in the area of conscious pro-environmental behaviour change specific to urban rewilding through a process of screening, critically appraising and coding. A systematic search of peer-reviewed and grey literature was firstly conducted. Papers were then screened by title, abstract and full text. And here you can see the search strings of the two searches that we did, followed by the search of grey literature from relevant organisations.
And here are the results of the searches. So on the left-hand side of the screen here, you can see the results from search 1. We found 14,186 articles. Once they were screened, the titles and the abstract and removal of duplicates, we actually resulted in 19 articles being included in the review from the first search. The second search identified 2,547 articles from 5 databases. Again, following the screening process, 14 articles were included in our review. And the results from the search of the grey literature from 25 different websites, we found 17,662 articles that were screened. Once we went through the screening process, we actually found 6 documents or articles, pieces of research that were included in the review. So in total, that is 39 articles that were coded as part of this research project. But actually, when we compared those 3 searches, there were 2 more duplicates included that were duplicated between searches. So there were 37 articles included in our final coding.
Many frameworks exist upon which behaviour change interventions can be based. However, it's not clear which is the most comprehensive and conceptually coherent. The Behaviour Change Wheel aims to overcome this problem by synthesising 19 behaviour change frameworks, with a behavioural model sitting at its centre. The Behaviour Change Wheel has the combi model sitting at its centre, the behavioural model. And the combi model postulates that behaviour comes from an interaction between one's capability to perform a behaviour, the opportunity to perform a behaviour, and the motivation to carry out that behaviour. The Behaviour Change Wheel provides an evidence-based, stepped approach to changing behaviours, encouraging intervention designers to consider a full range of options, choosing only those that are the most promising. So let's take a quick look at the combi components. So the physical capability, the strength, skill or stamina to perform a behaviour. The psychological capability, the knowledge, mental strength, mental skill or mental stamina. The physical opportunity, time, location, resources and availability. The social opportunity, cultural norms and social cues. Then there's reflective motivation, so the plans and evaluations, the conscious decisions to perform behaviours. But there's also automatic motivations, our impulses, our automatic decisions, our habits, our inhibitions. When trying to change behaviour, it's important to use these combi components to understand that behaviour, to help understand where we might need to make a change to influence behaviour in a particular way.
So what we found from the included articles and the coding of those articles is that all of the components of behaviour received a mention. So actually this is a behaviour that we could influence in terms of psychological capability or physical capability, social opportunity, physical opportunity, reflective motivation or automatic motivation. And we also identified demographic factors that seem to influence the behaviour that we're trying to change.
Our preliminary findings identified themes under each of these factors for understanding rewilding behaviour. We found psychological capability to rewild was influenced by a number of mindsets, such as ecological awareness and biodiversity knowledge. Physical capability was identified as an issue in terms of having the physical ability to garden. Social opportunity for rewilding was affected by many factors, such as the example set by neighbours and wishing to display personal values. Physical opportunity was impacted by numerous considerations, including access to information, time, cost, and garden ownership. Reflective motivation was the most cited determinant of rewilding behaviour, with examples including aesthetic preferences, favoured species, safety concerns, and creation of urban green space. Automatic motivations affecting rewilding include tidiness, the climatic region you live in, and growing fruit or vegetables in the garden. A wide range of demographic factors are key to understanding rewilding behaviour, including age, gender, and education level.
At the hub of the behaviour change wheel is the combi model. Surrounding the combi model is a layer of 9 intervention functions that intervention designers can choose from. And it's these functions that bring about the change depending on what is understood about the behaviour targeted for change. Are we trying to bring about a change in social opportunity, for example, or reflective motivation? Or maybe we're trying to change all 6 combi components. So the intervention functions that intervention designers can choose from are education, persuasion, incentivization, coercion, training to develop skills, enablement, modelling, environmental restructuring, or restrictions. The final layer of the behaviour change wheel is that of the policy categories, the approaches that can support the delivery of the identified intervention functions, which are selected based on the identified changes to the combi components. So intervention developers can review the intervention functions selected and then decide on the policy categories that can support their delivery. There are 7 to choose from, being environmental or social planning, communications and marketing approach, changing legislation, delivering a service, increasing regulation, establishing rules or principles of behavioural practice, maybe using fiscal measures or providing guidelines.
From the included articles that had a look at intervention functions or intervention strategies to change this particular behaviour of urban rewilding, we identified examples of education, training, persuasion, incentivisation, enablement, modelling and restriction. We also identified the policy categories, the mechanisms to bring the intervention functions to life of environmental and social planning, communications and marketing, legislation, service provision, regulation, fiscal measures and guidelines. So what does this mean going forward? Well, as a research team, now we have an understanding of the combi components, the components of behaviour, the capability, opportunity and motivational factors. We can then work together with Londoners, with other stakeholders, local and regional decision makers to co-create an intervention strategy that reviews the intervention functions identified in our review and considers the policy categories to bring those to life, to design an appropriate intervention strategy to influence one or more of those combi components using the rewildmystreet.org website as the basis for that intervention development. So our next stage is to go into an intervention development piece of research, co-creating that intervention with Londoners and key stakeholders using this review and this understanding of the existing evidence to feed into that process to make sure that the intervention strategy that is developed is evidence-based and stands the best chance of success.
The study protocol has been published. The title and web address are available to you here on screen. For more information on Rewild My Street, then the web address is rewildmystreet.org, or you can get updates on Twitter at rewildmystreet. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. If you would like more information, then you can contact either Sian or I. Our email addresses are s.moxon@londonmet.ac.uk or j.webb1@londonmet.ac.uk.